Epic Games seemingly can't catch a break. Every move that they make is now under maximum scrutiny, and every step further pushes the PC gaming community away for them. They promise to change things for the better, but again, they kind of go back in what they say they want to do. Back in October, before they started their Epic Games Store campaign, they purchased Easy Anti-Cheat, a system relied on by hundreds of online games. The fallout to this is only just coming to light, and it's not looking good. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Industry Report, the multiple time per week series where we just look behind the news into the deeper issues in the industry. This is another one about Epic Games. They are, of course, striking hard and fast with reckless abandon, something I'd appreciate if they weren't engaging in such, underhanded tactics all over the place. In October of 2018, Epic Games bought a company called Camu. They're the creators of Easy Anti-Cheat. At the time, this was explained as Epic wanting to do more to secure Fortnite from hackers and from cheaters, and to support Camu's suite of games telemetry and management services. This may have been the case, but now it's partially worth reconsidering. According to a few sources, including Rust's Gary Newman, Easy Anti-Cheat has paused its Linux support. Why would it do this? Well, Epic currently has no plans for supporting Linux with their store, and Epic currently owns Easy Anti-Cheat. Seems kind of understandable to me. They're supporting their own interests first. And I think it's hard to argue about that or with that fundamentally, but that doesn't really make it the right decision. And as I'll go into, this decision goes way past Epic Games. In fact, it has ramifications for the PC gaming sector as a whole. As reported in February of this year, Steam and the Easy Anti-Cheat team have been working together on bringing EAC, Easy Anti-Cheat, support to Linux, Steam Play, and Proton. However, this has apparently since stopped. Now, for a recap on Steam Play and Proton, Steam have been working hard for years to bring PC games to Linux, both to expand their audience, but also to provide freedom to their players to purchase and play Steam games on any platform. Now, usually, this requires developers making a Linux build of their game, and that can be a significant amount of extra work that is, of course, very expensive. However, Steam have been working on something called Proton, which is a tool that Valve have built, which, alongside other open source software like Wine, allows for Windows exclusive games to run on Linux. Now, it's far from perfect, but it has enabled thousands of games to work with varying degrees of success with basically no extra work from the developers. Thanks to Valve's continued efforts, PC gamers could move over to Linux with minimal sacrifice. In fact, according to ProtonDB, 56% of the top 1,000 popular games on Steam now run on Linux with at least a gold rating, which means that they pretty much run perfectly after some tweaks, which absolutely is a game changer. And remember, it's at no cost to the dev or the consumer. EAC, though, pausing support for Linux means that any online games that rely on it are going to experience issues on Linux. So, Gary Newman said on Reddit that Rust players are now moving to Linux so they can cheat. In this case, it's only fair to remove Linux support until an alternate anti-cheat solution is in place, because an increase in cheaters through that platform harms every single platform. To solve this problem, games would have to support a different form of anti-cheat, one of course that works with Linux. Ultimately, for online games, this actually reverses what Proton has done. With Proton, a developer did not have to do anything extra to support Linux, and Steam, handled that for them. But now developers will have to implement a different cross-platform anti-cheat solution if they want Linux support. Now, this, given the popularity of Easy Anti-Cheat and the games that actually use Easy Anti-Cheat, could be quite a roadblock for Steam's path to platform independence. And really, that is quite the story indeed. It's pretty darn crazy. And a part of it's potentially maybe unfair to say, but let's just think about it for a moment. Epic planned to, open a store that competes with Steam. And before they launched that, they bowed a service that one of Steam's products use. Then later, they stopped that service from supporting a platform that Steam's products use, but theirs don't, harming one of Steam's advantages over the Epic store. Now, given that we've not seen a statement from Epic on this front, we have absolutely no idea what their reasoning behind this is. Back in October, when they purchased Camu, Epic stated this on the Unreal Engine blog. The Camu team will continue to expand its services in support of all customers and all the engines they've chosen, while Epic's new presence in Helsinki will serve as a base for recruiting technology, engine, and online service developers in Finland. Now, as much as Epic have had mixed success in sticking to their promises across strategy and their roadmap, it would be pretty damn poor form for them to make an acquisition like this, to provide such a solid statement on said acquisition, and then to renege on it within only 7 months. Now, as fun as it is to assume that Epic are doing this intentionally to sabotage Steam's vision for the future, well, there is a much more simple reason. The easy anti-cheat team just have bigger fish to fry. Gary Newman said pausing support, not ending support, which, well, it means they could have any number of internal issues, they could have had that arise, but might plan to return to Linux support when they get the chance. Now, this does not stop conspiracy theories from floating around, given that Tim Sweeney has voiced some displeasure about Linux in the past, saying that moving to Linux because of dissatisfaction with Windows is like moving to Canada because you don't like American policy, escaping rather than working on solving issues from within. It's a little ironic that he thinks this about competition when he's adamant his own company's game store is going to improve PC gaming when it has already resulted in games that would otherwise be available on Linux to, remain Windows exclusives. It's hard to really argue that he's made it that much better. Borderlands and Metro have had some earlier entries be playable on Linux in the past natively, but because the Epic Game Store doesn't support Linux, Borderlands 3 and Metro Exodus will not be getting any official support. Even Rocket League, which already has a Linux build, could end up dropping support for that depending on how the deal with Epic actually plays out. Because if Rocket League is removed from Steam and then fully moves over to Epic, then players who own it, well, they might be unable to get a Linux version. It's hard to know at this stage. Researching this, I've seen comments from months ago claiming Epic are the biggest threat to Linux gaming because of their exclusivity approach. Well, little did they know how right they may be. Contrary to all of this, though, their director of publishing strategy, Sergey of Steam Spy fame, has spoken out about Epic and Linux on Twitter in the past. So in March of this year, Sergey was answering questions about running Phoenix Point through Proton, so that Phoenix Point would run on Linux, and he basically said that the launcher won't work, but that most of the games will run fine. He was asked if they would put out a bounty to improve support, and he replied very clearly, yes, we would pay to have it working, we just don't have any free Linux engineers ourselves, following that up by saying that they're actively hiring. Now, Jason Evangelio of Forbes reached out to him after this exchange and was told this: we'd like to bring the store to as many open computing platforms as possible, but are currently focused on PC and Mac. I hope we'll have more details in the future, but right now we don't have anyone working on the Linux version of the store. Now, that doesn't sound like an anti-Linux approach, and Epic generally have supported Linux well in the past with Unreal Engine. They've done that for years. This information qualms plenty of fears, but it does make EAC pausing support for Linux even more curious. Personally, I can't say what the reasoning is here. Just this story has came to light. I can only provide information and my opinion on top of that. In my opinion, if EAC are scrambling to work on something more important, if they're actively trying to hurt Steam's competitive advantage, or if Tim has just sent a Linux bad Canada memo around the office, well, the result is all the same, really. This, in line with their other behavior, is making the PC gaming landscape worse, with less platform independence and less consumer choice across the board. I'm kind of waiting with bated breath for Epic's statement in this one, because spinning this to be a positive for developers is going to be mighty difficult. Now look, there are some instances where I've defended them before on the 88-12 split. I do believe that's more fair than Valve's 70-30 default, and I do think Valve need competition. Now, this is competition, sure, but it's competition in the worst way, intentional or not. It's closer to streaming platform competition, where platforms compete seemingly by making each other's offerings worse. Competition should be when entities face each other on even ground and try to be the best, pushing each other high, not sabotaging each other. Really, the way this is panning out, it's kind of good for no one right now, and it results in a worse industry for the rest of us. All we can hope for in this front is that a competitor arrives to take Easy Anti-Cheat's position and support all platforms. Given how complex the software is and how entrenched in the gaming world EAC is, that's kind of unlikely. Perhaps Valve might do something with their own solution, Valve Anti-Cheat, but honestly right now it just all seems pretty bad for those who just want to have access to a lot of games on Linux. It's quite a problem. So it's all a little bit wild, isn't it? And that's just the ongoing saga. We need to wait and see what Epic actually have to say about all this and how they explain themselves. But yeah, that's pretty much what is going on here. It's a pretty wild situation. I'd love to know what you think about it down in those comments below. And with that, that's really it for this video. If you'd like to check out something else on the channel, you can check out our coverage of Activision Blizzard's latest report, in which Blizzard themselves lost 8.5% of their player base, which is quite a lot. Pretty damn wild. So thank you very much for watching. With that, guys, I'll see you next time.